Well, there. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit late this evening, getting out the Thursday cast. Um, Going to have our Friday coming up a little bit later this evening, and I have some special things to share with you then. But for those of you that are new to my casts, I start on Saturday and I go till Friday with a theme for the week. I talk about some really interesting things to improve the quality of your life and everyone else in it. If you're coming back, well, welcome back. Show me some love on Facebook, John C. Morley, Serial Entrepreneur, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, John C. Morley, Serial Entrepreneur, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope. And why don't you comment below? What do you want to know about your brain? Is there something that's still perplexing you a little bit? And then tag your friends, colleagues, and associates, and to be sure to share this out to them after the cast. All right. So when we think about our brain, okay, a lot of times people have information that they want to remember, okay? However, they don't remember the information, and it's not because the people aren't smart or anything like that. It comes down to really one main thing. You know what that is? And that is that the brain wants you to be creative when you think of something, when you try to remember something. So there was a thing I was working on today. And in order to remember it, I made it very unique and funny. And so how did I do that? Well, I took what I was trying to remember, and then based on that information, I pictured a number. And then on that number, I actually took, in this case, it was a 10, and I wrapped the 10 around it, and that helped me remember it. And so now when I came up to it, I'm like, oh, yeah, now I get it. You see, a lot of people think that the brain is just something you turn on and it's ready to work. Well, got bad news for you. You can train your brain to be really good, but it takes time. And you see, people oftentimes become frustrated because they put all this effort in and they burn themselves out. They're basically burning the candle at two sides and they don't know which ends up. They're getting frustrated. They're not getting answers. They feel like they're getting further behind than when they started, and they're just lost. And on top of it all, maybe they have a headache or they're not feeling great. And this is all attributed to and coming from stress. So in order to master the brain, and you're always going to be learning about the brain, you need to decide right now that you're going to be creative and playful. You're going to figure out, what is it that my brain would like to experience? Now, a lot of us say, gee, I'm going to cram for something. Don't do that. Now, there is the method of repetition we talked about, but that's not the most fun way to learn. So when we get creative, why is it important? Because we open up pathways in our brain. We form more connections between our neurons, right? And those pathways are able to facilitate access to information in many different ways. For example, if you had somewhere you're going and you had one way to get there, great. You have two ways to go there, great. What if you had 5 ways to get there? Well, that would be amazing, because if there was traffic on the road, then you'd be able to go another way. If there was an accident, you could go another way, and vice versa. Now, a lot of people I talk to feel that the brain is something they can just throw stuff at and eventually it'll stick. Well, that's one philosophy. But if you were going to go through your entire life and hope things stick, I seriously hope that you have a better plan than that, because that's just like me taking a whole bunch of things and throwing them against a dartboard or a wall and saying, well, whatever sticks, great. Whatever doesn't, and I guess we'll just forget about that. Not a great attitude. Now, when I talk to people about their brain and, where they want to go with their brain, I think the biggest challenge that I find is that people become bored. That's right, you heard me. They become bored. There was a gentleman the other day who was doing a presentation, and very nice guy. However, when he did the presentation, he was talking like this, and every word he was saying was basically sounding the same. And he'd have a few inflection points like this, but then you want to make sure that you keep talking like this because he just kept boring people and he didn't do anything except talk very fast. Okay, and now you can understand, and this is what we're going to do next. Who wants to listen to that? You got to realize that if you're going to talk to someone, teach them something, train them about something, you can't just dispel something and think that someone actually is going to be able to learn that. In ham radio, we have a thing in the general, when you go for the general license, that you never should be, in the sense of Morse code, sending faster than CQ can understand and receive it. So what does that mean? It means don't talk faster or don't Morse code type faster than the other station's able to transcribe it. Now that sounds very simple, but a lot of people that produce content tapes, they produce different types of videos, and they're brilliant people. It's just that they're talking too fast, and people don't appreciate it because they're getting frustrated. I remember watching one of this person's segments. Again, it was really interesting, but if I didn't know the information, I probably would just turn it off because it was boring and it wasn't getting anywhere because of not the topic was boring, but the way he was speaking was boring. I mean, I just don't know where to go with that. So when you want to, let's say, remember something, you need to think of stimulation. How can you involve more senses of the body to help you remember? Really? How can you do that? And if you said to me, John, I don't know, then I'd say, well, what if you did know? How could you be creative enough to figure out what senses or what you could do to your senses to make you understand in a different manner? Now, do you know the difference between regular mentality and genius mentality? There's only one difference between using your brain in a regular fashion and using it in a genius fashion. Do you know what that is? I'm going to tell you. Genius people just learn to use their brain and how it can function in a different and special manner. They don't just read a book and hope it sinks in. They engage with the content. They find videos on it. They do a project on it. They make that whole concept their life for a day or an hour, a few hours. And it starts to create this ecosystem or environment that spurs curiosity. So that means the more things that we try to plague our brain with being curious about, the more our brain's going to want to clamp down and say, I want to learn this. I want to learn it now. I don't think it matters whether content is hard or not. It matters whether you're dedicated to do what it's going to take to pass whatever you're doing or to get your certification or get a degree or certificate or whatever it is. You have to realize that just going to a class is not enough to get you to remember. Maybe you want to do some pre-studying before you go to class. Maybe after each class, you want to look at the notes and think about ways that you could remember things. Maybe try to tie things in the class to things you already know. And that's going to spur more enthusiasm. You see, enthusiasm, ladies and gentlemen, is guess what? It is the key to success. That's right. It's the key to success. And so if you can understand that, then your brain is going to be this amazingly powerful tool that you never knew was on your shoulders. Think about that for a moment. You have this brain sitting on your shoulders, but most people don't feed it, don't give it information, don't give it anything more than they need to be able to stay alive. That's actually sad. So, I have a question for you right now. In your life, do you just go through the motions of things? Or do you really try to embrace and enjoy every moment of life? Now, even if there's a part of your life that maybe wasn't great, you could say, I learned something from that. Or I learned that when that happened, that I'm going to do something different this time because I never want that to happen again. This happens a lot of times with people that um, maybe are having some challenges financially. They basically look at their bank account, they look at the bills, and they're like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to pay this? And they become dissatisfied. So they quickly come to this realization: not have money and feel bad, have money and feel good. And if you're having trouble trying to make that connection, then I want you to think about yourself, maybe many years ago, a younger version of yourself, or an older version of yourself that actually has all the money and all the resources that he or she needs. Now, that's pretty powerful, isn't it? I know, extremely powerful. It's my pleasure, Jake. Thanks so much for stopping by. Whereabouts you joining us from? So every single day, today's a little late. Apologize for that. I had a long day today. I give a very unique stream about a topic for a week from Friday, from Saturday to Friday. So tomorrow we're going to have the summary of all this, and the best part of it is I'm going to teach you guys how to anchor thoughts of success and feelings in your mind. Because, see, it's not whether you're successful at the moment, it's how you take these situations and you respond to them. Because we're all going to have challenges in one point or other, they're going to happen. And I think these challenges help us to become a better version of ourselves. What we need to do, though, is not let these challenges discourage us or bring us to a point where, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think if we're to go back to our brain for a moment and we're just able to silently be quiet and just focus on the way things are for the moment, just do that for a minute. Thanks, Jackie. I really appreciate that. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you got a chance to actually catch my cast. I did a real long one for the Christmas holiday. I did one from December 1st through December 25th, and that was 25 gifts of inspiration around the holidays. And I'm actually going to be launching a book in a few months called 25 Gifts of Inspiration to Change Your Life and Everyone in It. So, for example, one of the days, I'll just tell you, on the 25th, I wrapped a present. Every day I wrapped a present. But on the 25th, I wrapped something, and then I unwrapped it, and there was another wrapper in it. And I took the wrapper and I actually pulled it, and it popped. And what was that? It was a cracker. You're probably saying, well, John, what does a cracker have to do with anything? Well, crackers came from Europe. And what I wanted people to understand was that you need to always have that element of surprise. Because if you always let everyone know what cards are on your table or what you're planning to do, they have no reason to follow you. They have no reason to even be interested in what you're doing. So always leave people on the edge with a little bit of anticipation. I think that's the best thing. So tomorrow is going to be one of my most favorite days because I'm going to wrap up this whole thing of the week about how the brain works. Remember what I said to you a few days ago. There are programs in your brain that are running right now that, whether you agree with them or not, are still running your life, 95% of your life. That means there's stuff that's in your head that maybe was said to you when you were just a baby. And maybe you got other things that were formed in you when you took your first job, or maybe when you were with some friends. And so when you can realize that the brain has so much, we'll call it neuroplasticity, as a word that's been around for a while. When you understand that you have the ability to shape who you are and who you can become, that's when the light should go on in your head. Now, if you're saying to me, John, I'm dissatisfied with my life, I'm dissatisfied with where I am. Okay, you're dissatisfied. Einstein said something very, very interesting. If you do the same thing over and 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 over again and expect different results, first of all, you're not going to get it. But he said that's the definition of insanity. So if we don't make different decisions in our life, we're going to get exactly what we have. And if we want to change that, we have to figure out, what behavior are we going to change in our life? Now, that might not be an easy thing to figure out. But just realize that if you do the same thing over and over and over again, you're going to get the same results. You're going to get the same frustrations. Even if you change your behavior just a slight bit, you could potentially get different results. We know from layers of the atmosphere that just by a sudden shift of the sun and the moon's axis could affect whether ham radio frequencies could travel and propagate or be blocked. That's pretty amazing. So, what you see in your world comes from what you perceive in your mind. If we can just wrap our hands and head around that and know that we can change this perception up here, then it'll change out here. Now, if you're going to say to me, John, I've done that, it doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. How long have you done that for? Oh, I did it for a few days. Okay, so let me get this straight. This program's been in your head since, I don't know, 6, 7 years old or younger. And you spent 7 days to try to change it. I don't think that's going to quite be an equal time. Most people need 30, 60, 90 or more days to actually change a belief that's in their mind. And again, these beliefs are installed and active like a program, whether you believe them or not. They're running your life. They could be ruining your life, or they could be helping your life. So again, if you're not happy where you are right now, you need to change your behaviors. The best way to do that is to meditate. Figure out what you should be doing. Figure out what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. And I'm going to tell you something else. When you do something and you get a good feeling about it, you're on the right track. Today, I was working on a new project and I felt really good about it. And as I was in the middle of the project, I felt great as well. So that meant I was on the right path. You see, sometimes people go down a path because they're told to go that way. For example, oh, you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer. But the person really doesn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. They want to be an inventor or they want to be an engineer like myself, or they want to do the other things like I do video producing, or maybe they just want to help people. Maybe they want to be a counselor. So you have to like what you do in life. Like is a bad word. You have to love what you do in life with passion. Your brain is so intelligent that it does not play games. When you try to fake it with your brain and say you like something, your brain's like, hey, John, you're not fooling me. You can try this, but I'm not going to cooperate. I'm not going to support this. Now, the brain doesn't come out and do that, but what does it do? It causes you to not be able to go down that path. That's pretty wild. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have enjoyed being with you this early hours of the morning here today. Get a little bit late, but I always do get these out before I go to sleep. It has been a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to be with you. And if you got value from this today, tell a friend. Remember to share this out to everyone you know. And also go to youtube.com. Type in my name, John space C space Morley space serial entrepreneur. And look for the key phrase, help keep our content free. And below that, make the choice. Click on that PayPal link and buy my team and I a cup of coffee. We'll be so grateful with those pennies and dollars. We'll invest them into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, new staff, and even new facilities to bring you the most jaw-dropping, motivational, inspirational, life-changing content to revolutionize your life if you open your mind to the possibility of change. Again, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, and I invite you to join me tomorrow where we'll wrap up how the brain works. And I'm going to teach you some fascinating things that you're going to be able to do like that. And if you practice them in just a few days, some of your beliefs are going to change faster than you ever imagined. I hope you have a great rest of the morning, and I hope to see you tonight on my last cast for this week. And if you're wondering what Saturday's cast is going to be, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to tune in on Saturday to find out what amazing question that I am going to answer for an entire week. I know that has you on the edge of your chair, but do go to sleep because you need to get so much sleep so that you could take the short-term memory and transfer it to the long-term memory and have room to put more short-term memory during your day. All right. Have a great night, everyone. Take care.